Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Does anyone else want to abandon society and go live in the woods like a hermit? I'm thinking of doing it here, Australia, but it's difficult finding a suitable place. I want a green, shady, European-style forest, but cannot legally migrate to a country like that I know of. Paperwork and logistics are too hard and too expensive. There are lots of nice ruins with oaks and bluebells, etc., in Riverina, New South Wales, but they are mostly private land. All the land that is for sale is crap. I have enough money to buy a decently sized block, especially if I sell my current house, and build a hut using rocks and fallen logs and such on my own. Getting planning approval for a hut, even on your own land, is a nightmare, though. You can't get it at all if you plan to build it yourself and aren't qualified. And the government can force you to take down your own structure on your own property if they find out about it. And you still need to interact with society to pay rates and land levies, so forth. There is nowhere you can go to be free anymore. I give up on humanity and just want life to be simple. What do I do?
I can relate to this. I've wanted to live as a hermit for a good while, but it's not possible at the minute. I do not feel the same pangs of loneliness that most others seem to, and I feel like I'd be able to accomplish so much more if I could be away from society and technology. But at the same time, I can't just go live in a cave because I'd be dead in a week.
It makes me very sad to realize the way that we are trapped. We can't actually leave society. We get no choice about being born into it. But we are born as debtors under all sorts of social contracts, and actually can't leave. Even if I wanted to pack a bag and walk freely into the bush, I would be reported missing, and police would find me, and I would probably be institutionalized. Otherwise, I would be considered a trespasser on public and private lands, and prosecuted or sued. If I wanted to hunt, fish, or gather to live, I would run afoul of the laws against those things too. You need special permits to hunt and fish, and can't gather in most places without express permission. In society, I work so that I can afford to consume more stuff that enables me to do more work, so that I can remain vaguely unsatisfied and driven to buy shit forever. Life's pretty crap, eh?
You can get away anytime to nearly anywhere, man. Take out all your cash, after selling your house and car and other things, and bribe someone to sneak you into their boat or plane and go to a deep forest or jungle. Just read up as much as you can on it first. That knowledge might save your life and keep you away from patrolling people. If you truly have nothing to lose over this, who cares if a few people get pissy with you for asking them about sneaking you aboard? Eventually you will find someone who will and who is heading somewhere you'd like to be.
Kinda makes you want to live in the past, doesn't it? I'm American, so I've often dreamed of living in the Wild West, or like the natives used to. I've been homeless, and it was the closest to being free that I've ever been and had its moments. But I mostly hated it. I suppose you could go way up north into Alaska or northern Canada, but if that was a decent place to live, people would live there. Most people are consumers who need material comforts. Thus, people don't live where material comforts are scarce.
Work your ass off to buy land and grow shit on it, but don't abandon the modern comfort. Small clean house with a laboratory and you're ready to start your potions. Also, living in a forest in Australia seems highly dangerous.
I think Australia seems worse than it is. There aren't many deadly spiders near me, and you can stay away from snakes. They also try to stay away from you. There are no big predators, like wolves or bears in Australia, and lots of little animals you could catch for food. At the moment, I own my house, and it is mostly paid off. I try to live like a hermit in it, but I want to be surrounded by nature and forget that human beings exist. I don't want to be a slave to agriculture either, or have a fixed base, except maybe a little hut with some herbs. Farming is so time-consuming. I would give up modern comfort, my name and history, to just have simplicity. Maybe I am being naive.
Hello, OP. I know how you feel. I was born in the French countryside, and even though I live in town, I still go in the woods as much as I can. I go to the east, close to Switzerland. The forests are huge and there's no humans there. I often see animals, deers, roe deers, fallow deers, birds, and bobcats, supposed to be extinct but not in the deep woods, and foxes. The other day I was drawing a big mushroom in the forest and a few boars watched me before they left. I noticed them by the noises. OP, go learn about all the edible mushrooms, plants, and roots. Buy books and meet knowledgeable people. Never eat something you have doubts about. Eating small animals is okay, but big ones will just rot away, and the red meat from an animal just killed isn't good at all. And killing big animals may feel bad. Roe deers cry like babies when harmed. It really is saddening. I understand your struggle, OP. We are born as cattle. It's illegal to escape. There's nowhere for us. We are criminals just because we want to be free. I have a few things to do in society before I escape. I can't wait.
It's surprising how France is full of those places. There's a lot of isolated places with just abandoned huts, far from everything I'm planning on going free myself. Even if that means dying, starved, alone in the woods. I don't plan on staying in the same place, though. Not until I find somewhere I can sustain myself. I don't understand homeless people who stays in cities. I mean, you're free. You've got your feet. No more obligations to society, and the world is open. I know it's romanticized, but why stay dependent on the thing that destroys you?
Winter in the forest equals death.
Winter is pretty deadly everywhere you know.
Not in my flat, it isn't. I've got central heating, nice and toasty. While we're indulging these RP fantasizations, how do OP and his merry band of hobos propose to avoid getting busted for vagrancy?
Yeah, totally impossible. Thankfully, the aliens gave us the technology of air conditioning and heaters back when we were swinging from trees. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here.
Well, in Australia, it's quite common. Loads of people live out of their station wagon van and are pretty much hobos on wheels. No one gives a damn. Cops aren't dicks here. They are reasonable. As long as you're not living in a protected wildlife zone or loitering and living a reasonable life, you will be left alone. Basically, you will only be screwed with here if you're doing something that warrants you to be fucked with in the first place.
Vagrancy isn't against the law here. Trespass is, but that's why I propose to buy a tract of land. Trespass laws are rarely enforced, on the other hand, so I am tossing up just going into the wild and taking a risk.
I've thought about doing this for years, but England doesn't have many suitable areas for escaping. My plan, read pipe dream, was to go to Canada or Alaska and have a cargo helicopter take me and one of those big metal shipping containers full of supplies and equipment out to a secluded part of the wilderness. I'd live in the container and dig additional living quarters underground, and I'd set up a satellite connection to the internet and possibly stream my activities 24/7, Big Brother style. I'd also get a bunch of guns, learn to shoot and carry at least a .44 caliber handgun on me at all times, for bears and wolves. I'd learn to hunt with traps and be as self-sufficient as possible, but also use the internet to earn money and have resupply crates airdropped to my camp. Anyway, OP, you might want to read Walden. It's kind of a diary of philosophical musings by a pretty remarkable man, Thoreau, who in the 19th century USA built and lived on his own farm from scratch, out in the wilderness.
Dear OP, I'm from Australia, New South Wales, and I would love to do this actually. I daydream about it all the time. I study and practice internal alchemy and yoga. They kind of have ties. The thing is, it sounds like you're trying to escape society by still living in society. Rates? Land levies? What are you talking about wanting to walk away from society? Or do you want to have a divorce with it and go see it on weekends still? Buy a van, pimp it out, and get a sweet tent. Then the only cunts you will technically have to deal with is the RMS once a year. But how bad is that? The rest of the time you can drive around to all different locations in the outback and learn to live off the land until you really can just survive on your own. I was thinking of joining an Aboriginal commune. Those guys are smart when it comes to living off the land. My imagination says doing the old walkabout rite of passage would be awesome. Walking along all the old song lines, learning the lore of the ancient Aboriginal and their spiritual ways while learning to live off the land along the way. Then again, I could just get a van and live next to the beach and live off bread and Nutella and meditate and be happy. Screw the society man. P.S. I've been saving to do this actually. I got 3,000 cash at the moment. I was planning on going homeless this summer and surviving outdoors to see how I go. I know I will prob fail and have to come back, but that's why I'm going to have money for backup. Our society has trained us to nay be able to survive in the wild by ourselves. I think it'll take a couple failures before I can truly be able to live with the land and maintain the lifestyle I need alone. I still want to be able to take my laptop with me and Wi-Fi so I can work and pursue creative ventures. I don't know. I kind of envision a modern-day nomadic, one that doesn't completely shun the modern world's advancements, but neither does he embrace it. One who learns to live in both worlds, living with the land to sustain himself comfortably while using self-sustaining modern technology to be able to pursue creative ventures. I don't like the idea of going off just to sit around and do nothing. I want to get away, so I am not distracted by the common bullshit of day-to-day society, so I can focus on what's important, whatever that might be.
My sentiments exactly. It's not that I want to stay anchored in the familiarity with rates and levies, etc. It's just that I can't think of a way of having my own land, as all land is either private or government-owned. Living alone would be breaking a lot of laws, so I would be gambling against getting caught. I have enough in equity and savings that if I sold my house, I could have food, supplies, and whatever else I needed forever. If I put all the money in high-interest savings and did go into town once a year, then I could live very comfortably indeed. But I don't think I could do that because that's not the point. You can't really do these things by halves, so I would sell everything or give it away and just go out into the wild. No car, no laptop, no nothing. Just ropes and 1 or 2 sets of survival clothes like furs until I could hunt enough to make my own. Maybe a knife or 2 and some canisters for water and that kind of thing. Possibly, but only possibly, some tarps to use until I could build a proper hut. I want a connection with nature that I do not think I personally could have if I stayed part of society at all. The idea is to seldom encounter humans for the rest of my life.
You do realize you would last maybe 3 months before you go crazy out in the wilderness by yourself with no human interaction? That's how humans are made. We are a social species. You are no different.
Not all humans are social creatures, you know. We are societal creatures. But being social is not a requirement for a healthy, happy human. It's usually rare for a human to truly enjoy the company of themselves, but it's becoming increasingly common.
OP again. I am 26 and open to living in a little commune, as long as I could be far enough away from others to have my solitude when I wanted it. If I buy a big block, I will let you camp there too. I just want to approve anyone who might be interested in being on the property, and have it be a secret, not someplace everyone comes tramping around.
I would be pretty much the same. I'm going through a Kundalini awakening that began 2 years ago. Solitude is beyond necessary for me. The majority of my time would be spent doing yoga, meditating, or reading and studying some kind of ancient philosophical system. I do like being social and talking to other people, but not the kind of banter you generally encountered in today's living. I don't enjoy talking for the sake of talking, unnecessary noise. That's pretty impressive, being able to afford a property at 26, I'm 25 and have pretty much nothing to show for it. I'd love to have a safe place to camp. Lately, I've been trying to scope out safe places to park a camper van to sleep in without being harassed. It would be some time before I could, though. I got some debts I got to pay off when I want to leave society. I want to make a clean break. It would be your place, your rules. I wouldn't want to impose. I get what you mean. I kind of wanted to be in a commune, but I don't really want to be with a bunch of mushroom-eating lazy hippies who left society because they can't be asked getting a job. I got no problem with them, but that's the environment I see myself in. I'm on more a solo mission.
This is something I talked about for a long time with a very close friend of mine, and he never really seemed to understand what I truly was saying. It's the only pure freedom you could ever possibly have, and it's something I've had on my mind since I was actually pretty young, maybe 10 or so. Now that I'm an adult and I've grown into this culture of work, consume, it's worse than I ever imagined it being. You're nothing but a slave to society, and I hate that it's a crime to want to be truly free and on your own. I often fantasize about how great it must have been just a few hundred years ago to go out and live your life exactly how you wanted, and not have to have a single goddamn care in the world besides providing food and shelter for yourself. Sure, there are benefits to living in a society. Just look at how fat and lazy we are. To me, it all just feels like a never-ending trap, and no matter where you go to try and get away from it, the walls just close in tighter with more restrictions. I absolutely hate it. I've actually read that in Norway. It's perfectly legal to camp anywhere you so choose, except for the national park. Although I don't know of any specifics, I imagine it would be easiest to get away with in Norway because of this. And I don't think there are any rules or restrictions on how long you can stay. Sure, Norway is cold, but it's also beautiful. And with more research, it might just be the place people like us are looking for. It's called the right to access. And so long as anyone does not own the land you're staying on, and you don't cut down any trees, you can stay as long as you want.
I get you. I think humanity has fallen into a trap mindset, where everyone thinks the goal is to strive to be as comfortable as possible. But it's only once you become comfortable you realize the human body, heart and mind was not made to be sedentary or comfortable. I'm pretty sick of people thinking I'm in a bad situation because I don't own trivial things or strive to be on the top. And you're right. The worst part of this society is that it's a crime to follow your own path to happiness and freedom if it doesn't fit the mold of what the multitude considers happy and free. The very fact there are laws that stop someone from being their own person living peacefully with the land shows how morally deficient the system really is and how badly it does not want you to exit the system. I mean, FFs in some places on the world it's illegal to catch your own rainwater, grow your own food, or collect solar energy.
I know I can't even begin to get into how bad it's gotten, and everyone just lets it continue on and on. I hate to be that guy, but I'm an educated man and I've had my fair share of world history and economics. I blame industrialization. No, I'm not one of those hipsters that thinks communism is an answer, or we all need to move to Soviet Russia or anything. But it's just this production and consumption-based mindset that we as a people have put ourselves in that makes us so goddamn miserable. I don't even think the multitude notice it, but everyone is just so miserable. You have to pay just to be alive anymore, at least here in the US. It's this mindset that's been perpetuated where you only get to good places by working your bones to dust, and that just isn't the case. Once again, I don't blame capitalism as a whole, just the mindset it brings with it. Money, material things, and laziness just eat away at the fabric of everything, and it's so depressing everywhere you go. Like I mentioned, the Nordic states seem to be much more in touch with their natural identity and know when and how to give people a break just to be free. I've been considering moving there for quite a while, and I'm in college studying anthropology, specifically archaeology with a focus on the Nordic culture just so I can do that. Their society is just so much happier, and I think it's the extra freedom they have, and the knowledge that they can easily go out and live how they want that keeps them so happy.
The fact you have to defend yourself from being one of those hipsters again shows how bad it is. How dare you not work 65-plus-hour weeks? What are you, some kind of lazy bum? That's a pretty awesome uni path you got there, bruh. All the best with it. Fuck it, I say, do what you want. I have no time for people who tell me what I have to do to be happy or succeed. I'll find it my own way. And if I screw that up, I'll be happy that I screwed it up doing it my way, not someone else's way.
Yeah, LOL, I just really don't expect someone to get it is all. Like I certainly don't want the government to pay for my shit, you know. I'm a fair guy, and I think the way it should be is that you should have the choice of whether to pay taxes and all of that. But if you don't, you shouldn't get any of the benefits of anyone else who does. I would be 100% okay with never having any kind of government aid, Medicare, health insurance, all that nonsense if it meant I could go out and do what I wanted. And yeah, I really enjoy my history and such. It's a great path if anyone's interested in it. But I can almost guarantee people will try to dissuade you and tell you it's a worthless degree. But I digress, I'm working doing what I love.
Exactly, it's not hipster entitlement if you don't want anything but to be self-reliant.
I want to live off-grid in a little cabin and grow all my own food and just be happy. It sounds mega awesome, I know, and I dreamed of it for a long time, but it's not feasible with 7 billion people and counting, and climate habitat change limiting our potential locales. I've been pondering it for a while now, and my current best idea is this. Humans live underground. Earth homes have natural insulation and protection from extreme weather. By being underground ourselves, we open the land above up to agriculture. But big agriculture is destructive to the natural environment. So, the open countryside would be used for orchards, fruit and nuts, berry bushes, things that grow very well in the wild and have long growth cycles. Underground, we could have advanced hydroponics and aquaponics systems to grow foods such as grains, tomatoes, herbs, things that require more delicate care. Natural sunlight is important for humans as well as plants and animals, so we will have magnifying skylights to bring light into our underground home, as well as free access to the land above. Humans will live not in individual, single-family homes, nor apartment complexes, but something more like a dorm or barrack. Private space for sleeping and bathing, but shared space for laundry, work, education, and eating. This is a more efficient use of the space available to us on this planet. We do not have enough room or resources for every human to own their own washer and dryer, have access to clean water and electricity, and laundry detergent. We just don't. Off-grid, alone, self-sustenance farming is propaganda. It will never happen for everyone on Earth. It cannot possibly. The more energy you devote to this imagining this impossible romantic ideal, the less you are devoting to the truly feasible future of humanity, which is a loving, sharing, all-encompassing group home. Let it go.
Citation needed, because as far as I can tell, it's not a lack of resources that is the problem, but the lack of proper allocation of those resources. Also, 7 billion people seems like a lot, but is a drop in the bucket compared to the total land mass on the Earth. Granted, some of your ideas are good ones, though the underground thing would only work in certain areas. That is places that have almost no chance of flooding, which would only limit our space several times more per person, not to mention the psychological effects of such living conditions. Have you seen any of the studies on people living in urban environments compared to rural? If not, look it up. The TLDR of it is that too many people living in too small of a physical space stresses them the fuck out and makes them generally more unhappy overall. This is just in cities, where people live in apartment complexes and houses squeezed close together. Forcing them together even more, like in your suggestion, would only amplify those problems. It seems like a good idea in theory, but the fact is, people need their space and privacy, and not just in sleeping or bathing areas. Even if it did come to having to live in these conditions, which it wouldn't or not any time in the next several lifetimes because see reasons above, would rather part of the human race be culled than to live in such claustrophobic conditions. Yes, even if there was a chance that I would be one of the people that were culled. Still doubtful though. Millions upon millions of square miles of this beautiful spinning rock has still been basically untouched by man. There is plenty of room. Our problem is resource allocation and waste, not the availability of it.
Have you ever considered living aboard a small sailboat? It seems like the last real option for a modern-day hermit. I'd like to find a way to jettison the romanticized pipe dream aspects of it, and find a way to make it work, and be as practical about it as possible. The only sane response to our society is to try to escape it.
I actually had this put to me by an old sailor last Christmas, and it's a distinct possibility. You can get a luxury yacht for $200,000 and still have plenty left over for supplies if you sell everything. Keep generators on board, etc. And I love the sea.
Montana here. Pick-related is what I'm aiming for. Yes, I was very serious about being a hermit. I used to study the Hindu aesthetics and wanted to be one. They have almost no possessions, sleep by a river, wake up pre-dawn to meditate and smoke hash, dip in the river water to clean. Like a Scottish shower, the cold water supposedly increases testosterone and vital energies. Then they go and pick clean fruit off trees and eat that for breakfast, spend the rest of the day receiving hash from locals as offerings and basically being a bum. That kind of life can only happen around cities, which India has plenty of. Out here, if you're going to be a hermit or aesthete, you need survival skills. And it's also hard to live that kind of life if you're intelligent, because you will want to accomplish something with yourself. As I grew up, I realized I didn't want to be a holy man that much anyway. I might want a girl to bring with into the mountains so I can make babies, and if someone tried fucking with that, I might kill them. That's not very holy, all kinds of ego involved. I realized I don't really want to be a full-on hermit either because I'm not scared of socializing, and I don't really hate society. I just don't want to be in the city. I might want to be able to still live a Western life and just drive into town for supplies or visit, because it's nice to visit, but I wouldn't want to live there again. In other words, I don't want to be a hermit anymore. I just want to be a proper mountain man who can survive with his family if shit goes down. I might even want other men who are like-minded and have girls of their own to be around so our girls can be friends and not be lonely or go insane, as women with mountain men can if left alone. And all our kids could grow up together and be friends. This is how it used to be. The more you shave away the evils of society, the closer you will start edging back to nature, friends, family.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.
Remember to check out the Odyssey page in the description for a second archive of the channel's videos.
There's also a Rumble archive as a backup.